Attraction, in Stoic philosophy, is never forced. It is never chased, it is never begged for. It is a consequence of inner order. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus never spoke about desire in the modern sense, yet they understood something deeper than tactics. They understood human nature. And human nature is drawn to calm strength. Most men today try to attract by effort, by words, by strategies, by performance. The Stoics would call this a mistake. What attracts is not effort, but alignment. Not pursuit, but presence. When a man is governed by reason, unshaken by approval or rejection, something changes around him. People feel it, especially women. This is where Stoic attraction begins. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man should stand upright, not held upright. This was not about posture alone, it was about inner authority. A man who governs himself does not need to convince others of his worth. His character speaks first. Stoic attraction is not about making a woman obsessed. It is about becoming the kind of man whose calm, depth, and discipline are naturally compelling. Obsession, when it appears, is not manufactured. It arises because emotional safety, clarity, and strength are rare. Seneca warned that neediness is a form of slavery. A man who needs validation has already surrendered power. Epictetus taught that anything you depend on for peace controls you. These ideas are not romantic tricks. They are laws of human behavior. Chapter 1 begins with the foundation. Before attraction comes self-rule. The Stoics believed that a man must first command his own impulses. Desire, fear, ego, and insecurity must be governed, not suppressed. When these forces rule a man, his presence becomes unstable. Instability repels. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he must not be disturbed by external things. This included praise, rejection, and desire. A man who is disturbed by outcomes radiates tension. Tension creates pressure. Pressure pushes people away. Stoic self-rule creates ease. Ease is attractive because it signals confidence without demand. When a man does not rush, explain, or chase, he communicates abundance. Seneca wrote that nothing is more powerful than a mind at peace with itself. This peace is not passivity. It is discipline. Epictetus taught that some things are within our control and others are not. Attraction grows when a man focuses only on what he governs. His conduct, his speech, his boundaries, his values. When he stops trying to control outcomes, outcomes begin to shift. Women are drawn to emotional safety. Emotional safety comes from consistency. A man who reacts emotionally, who seeks reassurance, who changes behavior to please, creates uncertainty. The Stoics rejected this weakness. Marcus Aurelius believed that a man should be the same in private as in public. This integrity creates trust. Trust deepens attraction. Stoic attraction is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not seek attention. It allows others to come forward willingly. Self-rule also means restraint. Seneca warned against excess emotion, excess speech, and excess desire. A man who reveals everything has nothing left to discover. Mystery is not manipulation. It is simply the result of depth. Depth attracts curiosity. When a man speaks less but with clarity, listens without impatience, and acts without urgency, he stands apart. This is not a technique. It is a consequence of inner order. Epictetus taught that if you wish to be respected, you must first respect yourself. Self-respect shows in posture, tone, and timing. A man who respects himself does not tolerate disrespect. Boundaries are felt before they are stated. This creates polarity. Polarity arises when strength meets openness, when firmness exists without aggression, when confidence exists without arrogance. The Stoics mastered this balance. Marcus Aurelius never tried to impress. He focused on virtue. Virtue to the Stoics was excellence of character. Excellence attracts without effort. A man ruled by impulse becomes predictable. A man ruled by reason becomes intriguing. Women sense when a man is emotionally independent. Independence feels safe. Safety allows attraction to deepen. Stoic self-rule also eliminates fear of loss. Fear makes men cling. Clinging suffocates attraction. Seneca warned that fearing loss before it arrives ruins enjoyment entirely. A man who accepts impermanence enjoys connection without anxiety. This ease is rare. Epictetus taught that desire must align with reason. Desire without discipline leads to desperation. Discipline without coldness creates warmth. This is the Stoic paradox. Detachment increases closeness. Calm creates intensity. Indifference to outcome creates magnetism. Chapter 1 ends with this truth. You cannot attract deeply while needing. You cannot lead emotionally while fearing abandonment. You cannot inspire obsession while chasing approval. Stoic attraction begins when a man becomes complete within himself. When he stands steady, speaks honestly, desires without clinging, and remains unshaken by outcome, something shifts. The world responds differently. Women respond differently. Not because he tries, but because he no longer needs to. The power of Stoic indifference and calm presence. Stoic attraction deepens when a man learns the power of indifference, not coldness. Not arrogance, but calm emotional independence. This idea sits at the heart of Stoic philosophy and explains why certain men naturally draw others without effort. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when you stop attaching your peace to external outcomes. This includes approval, affection, and desire. When a man becomes emotionally dependent on how someone responds to him, his behavior subtly changes. His tone tightens. His timing becomes rushed. His presence loses weight. Women sense this immediately. Stoic indifference restores balance. It communicates that a man values connection, but does not require it to feel whole. This creates emotional safety and intrigue at the same time. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he should not be disturbed by praise or blame. Applied to attraction, this means a man remains steady whether attention is given or withheld. He does not chase warmth, nor does he punish distance. He remains consistent. Consistency is rare. Rarity creates value. Seneca warned that emotional dependence is a form of self-betrayal. When a man abandons his standards to be liked, he loses respect for himself. Self-disrespect always leaks outward. Others feel it even if they cannot explain it. Stoic indifference corrects this. Indifference does not mean disinterest. It means clarity about what is and is not under your control. Epictetus was clear. You control your actions, your values, your conduct. You do not control another person's feelings. When a man accepts this fully, his presence relaxes. There is no pressure to impress. No urgency to prove worth. No anxiety about outcomes. Pressure kills attraction. Ease invites it. A calm presence signals strength. In nature, the most dangerous animals move slowly. The Stoics understood that haste reveals fear. Calm reveals confidence. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike those who wrong you. In attraction, this means not reacting emotionally to inconsistency or mixed signals. Reaction gives power away. Stoic calm reclaims it. When a man does not over-explain, does not demand reassurance, and does not seek constant validation, his words carry more weight. Silence becomes meaningful. Seneca believed that excessive speech is often a symptom of insecurity. A man who trusts himself does not need to fill space. He allows pauses. He allows others to step forward. This creates polarity. Polarity arises when one person is grounded and the other is free to respond. Chasing collapses polarity. Calm distance restores it. Stoic indifference also eliminates emotional volatility. Mood swings confuse others. Stability reassures them. A man who remains even-tempered, regardless of circumstance, becomes emotionally grounding. Women are drawn to emotional grounding because it feels safe. Epictetus taught that events themselves do not disturb us, only our judgments about them. Applied here, delayed responses, mixed interest, or uncertainty only disturb a man who interprets them as threats. The Stoic interprets them as information. Information does not require reaction, it requires observation. This observational stance creates power. A man who observes before responding cannot be manipulated emotionally. His calm becomes his shield. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that people act according to their understanding. This insight prevents resentment. Resentment poisons attraction. Calm understanding preserves it. Stoic indifference also refines desire. Desire becomes selective instead of desperate. A man no longer wants connection at any cost. He wants alignment. Alignment creates depth. Seneca wrote that a man who controls his desires controls his fate. Uncontrolled desire turns affection into dependency. Dependency repels. Controlled desire creates tension without pressure. This tension is attractive because it invites curiosity. Curiosity thrives in uncertainty, not in emotional availability that is excessive. Stoic men do not withhold affection to manipulate. They express affection honestly, but without attachment. This distinction is critical. Attachment seeks reassurance. Expression offers presence. Presence is felt. A calm man does not rush intimacy. He allows it to develop naturally. He does not push emotional closeness before trust exists. He respects pacing. Respect deepens attraction. Epictetus warned against investing identity in anything external. When a man's identity becomes tied to being desired, he loses himself. When he remains rooted in values, desire becomes an addition, not a necessity. This makes him lighter. Lightness makes interaction enjoyable. Stoic indifference also sharpens boundaries. A man who values his peace does not tolerate disrespect. He does not argue. He does not plead. He simply withdraws calmly. Withdrawal without bitterness is powerful. Marcus Aurelius believed that dignity is preserved through restraint. Restraint is attractive because it shows self-command. Self-command inspires trust. A woman may not consciously know why a Stoic man feels different. She only knows that she feels calmer, safer, and more curious around him. This is the result of emotional authority. Emotional authority does not dominate. It stabilizes. Seneca wrote that the strongest man is the one who governs himself. Self-governance creates inner silence. Inner silence creates presence. Presence draws attention. Attention deepens connection. Stoic indifference also protects a man from illusion. He does not project fantasies. He sees reality as it is. Clear vision prevents disappointment. Disappointment leads to bitterness. Bitterness destroys attraction. The Stoic accepts uncertainty. He allows attraction to unfold without forcing conclusions. This patience is rare. Rarity attracts. By the end of this chapter, the principle is clear. The less a man needs to control attraction, the more naturally it flows toward him. Not because he manipulates, but because he is free. Stoic silence, measured speech, and the magnetism of restraint. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. In a world where everyone explains, justifies, and overshares, the Stoics practiced restraint. Not because they lacked words, but because they understood weight. Words have weight only when they are not wasted. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should speak only what is necessary and useful. He believed unnecessary speech revealed unnecessary disturbance of the mind. A man who speaks too much exposes his inner restlessness. A man who speaks with care reveals inner order. Inner order is attractive. Stoic silence is not awkward, it is grounded, it creates space. Space invites attention. When a man is comfortable in silence, others lean in. They listen more closely. They become curious. Most men speak to fill gaps. Stoic men allow gaps to exist. Seneca warned that constant talking is often a way to avoid confronting oneself. Silence, on the other hand, forces clarity. A man who can sit quietly with himself develops depth. Depth cannot be faked. Depth attracts naturally. In attraction, silence creates tension without pressure. When every thought is spoken, mystery dies. Mystery is not deception. It is simply the recognition that not everything needs to be revealed immediately. Epictetus taught that we should first learn to listen before we speak. Listening is not passive, it is active presence. A man who listens fully makes others feel seen. Feeling seen builds emotional connection. Yet the Stoic listens without losing himself. He does not agree to be liked. He does not nod to avoid conflict. He listens to understand, not to surrender. This balance creates respect. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that a man should not argue over trivial matters. Arguing drains dignity. Dignity is attractive because it signals self-worth. A Stoic man does not rush to correct or impress. He allows others to express themselves fully. He responds only when his words add value. Value is felt immediately. Silence also protects emotional authority. When a man reacts instantly, he reveals emotional dependence. Reaction shows that something external has seized control of his inner state. Epictetus warned that when we react impulsively, we surrender freedom. Freedom is the foundation of attraction. A free man chooses his responses. Stoic silence allows time. Time creates composure. Composure communicates strength. In conversation, the Stoic man does not compete for attention. He does not raise his voice. He does not dominate dialogue. He speaks calmly, clearly, and briefly. Brevity sharpens impact. Seneca believed that wisdom is found in simplicity. Complex explanations often hide insecurity. Simple statements show clarity. Clarity is compelling. When a Stoic man speaks, his words feel considered. This makes others trust him. Trust deepens attraction. Silence also reveals confidence. A man who believes in his worth does not need constant affirmation. He does not seek approval through conversation. He allows interest to develop organically. Organic interest lasts longer. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how little control we have over how others perceive us. Trying to manage perception leads to anxiety. Anxiety leaks through speech. The Stoic abandons this struggle. He speaks honestly, without embellishment. He does not perform. Authenticity creates resonance. Resonance builds connection. Stoic restraint also prevents emotional oversharing. Oversharing early creates imbalance. It shifts emotional labor onto the other person. This creates pressure. Pressure dissolves attraction. Epictetus taught that timing matters. Saying the right thing at the wrong time weakens its effect. Silence until the moment is right strengthens it. Timing is wisdom in action. A Stoic man allows moments to breathe. He does not rush intimacy. He does not force emotional closeness. He respects pacing. Respect invites trust. Silence also functions as a filter. Those who are uncomfortable with quiet often reveal their own restlessness. The Stoic observes without judgment. Observation replaces assumption. This calm observation prevents projection. Projection distorts reality. Reality is the Stoic's anchor. Marcus Aurelius believed that truth stands firm without shouting. A man who trusts truth does not argue loudly. He allows actions to speak. Actions speak louder than explanations. Stoic silence gives actions space to be noticed. In attraction, this means consistency matters more than charm. Reliability matters more than humor. Presence matters more than performance. Seneca wrote that character is revealed through repeated behavior, not grand speeches. A man who shows up calmly, listens attentively, and speaks with intention builds quiet authority. Authority attracts. Stoic speech is also free of complaint. Complaining reveals helplessness. Helplessness repels. A man who accepts responsibility for his life speaks differently. He does not blame. He does not gossip. He does not criticize excessively. Marcus Aurelius warned against speaking ill of others. Speaking negatively lowers the speaker. Elevation comes from restraint. Elevated presence draws interest. Stoic men avoid unnecessary drama. Drama thrives on words, calm dissolves it. Epictetus taught that we should not be disturbed by opinions. When a man is unaffected by judgment, he speaks without defensiveness. Defensiveness signals weakness. Silence protects against offensiveness. A Stoic man also knows when to leave words unsaid. Not every thought deserves expression. Discernment separates wisdom from noise. Noise overwhelms attraction. Stillness clarifies it. By the end of this chapter, one truth becomes clear. Silence is not absence, it is presence refined. A man who speaks less, but with purpose creates depth. Depth creates intrigue. Intrigue draws others closer, not because he withholds, but because he is complete. Attraction reaches its deepest level when a man understands boundaries, not rigid walls, not emotional punishment, but calm, unshakable self-respect. The Stoics believe that a man who cannot protect his inner peace will eventually lose himself. And when a man loses himself, attraction fades. Epictetus taught that dignity begins with knowing what you will and will not tolerate. He warned that when you allow others to disturb your peace, you give them power over your life. Boundaries are how a man keeps his power. Power is attractive. Stoic boundaries are not announced loudly. They are lived quietly. A man does not threaten to leave. He simply leaves when respect disappears. This calm withdrawal speaks louder than arguments ever could. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he must never act against his own nature. A man who betrays his values to maintain connection erodes self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation of attraction. Without it, nothing holds. Many men fear setting boundaries because they fear loss. Seneca warned that fear of loss enslaves the mind. A man who stays where he is disrespected to avoid loneliness chooses comfort over dignity. Dignity always wins in the long run. Stoic attraction grows when a man chooses himself without resentment. Resentment poisons connection. Calm clarity strengthens it. A Stoic man does not argue when his boundaries are crossed. He does not beg for understanding. He does not explain repeatedly. Explanation signals doubt. Doubt weakens authority. Authority attracts. Epictetus taught that if you wish to be treated with respect, you must first treat yourself with respect. This means honoring your time, energy, and values. When these are violated, action must follow. Action reveals conviction. Marcus Aurelius believed that words without action are empty. Boundaries without consequences are meaningless. A Stoic man follows through quietly. Quiet follow-through creates trust. When a man stays calm in the face of disrespect, he shows emotional maturity. Emotional maturity creates safety. Safety deepens attraction. Walking away calmly is one of the strongest signals of self-worth. It communicates that connection is desired, but not required. Neediness disappears. Clarity remains. Seneca wrote that nothing is more shameful than pretending to be blind to what harms us. A man who tolerates repeated disrespect teaches others how to treat him. Teaching respect begins with self-respect. Stoic boundaries are rooted in reason, not emotion. A Stoic man does not leave impulsively. He observes patterns. He assesses behavior. He decides deliberately. Deliberation creates strength. Epictetus taught that anger is a sign of misplaced judgment. A man who storms away reveals emotional imbalance. A man who withdraws calmly reveals control. Control is compelling. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he should never allow others to pull him out of character. Character is consistency. Consistency creates reliability. Reliability attracts trust. Stoic boundaries also protect a man from overinvestment. Overinvestment before mutual respect creates imbalance. Imbalance breeds anxiety. Anxiety repels. A Stoic man matches energy. He gives what is given. He does not overextend to prove worth. He allows reciprocity to form naturally. Reciprocity creates harmony. Seneca warned against attaching happiness to others' behavior. When a man depends on another's consistency for peace, he becomes reactive. Reactivity erodes authority. Stoic independence restores it. Walking away does not mean burning bridges. It means choosing distance without hostility. Hostility keeps emotional attachment alive. Calm detachment releases it. Release creates freedom. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from aligning actions with values. A man who stays true to himself remains whole. Wholeness is deeply attractive. Women are drawn to men who know who they are and do not abandon themselves under pressure. Marcus Aurelius believed that inner citadels must be defended. A man's inner state is sacred. Allowing chaos inside for the sake of connection is a loss, not a gain. Stoic boundaries prevent this loss. A man with boundaries does not chase closure. He does not demand explanations. He accepts reality as it is. Acceptance is strength. Strength commands respect. Seneca wrote that peace is not found in changing others, but in mastering oneself. A man who sets boundaries is not trying to control. He is choosing alignment. Alignment creates depth. Stoic attraction thrives on polarity. Polarity requires firmness and openness. Boundaries provide firmness. Calm presence provides openness. Together, they create balance. A Stoic man does not fear walking alone. He knows that solitude is better than dishonor. This confidence removes desperation. Desperation is the enemy of attraction. Epictetus taught that we should be prepared to lose what is not aligned with our values. Loss accepted calmly becomes power. Power reshapes dynamics. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that nothing external can diminish his worth. When a man believes this, he does not cling. Clinging suffocates attraction. Stoic boundaries also invite respect from others who are emotionally mature. Those who are uncomfortable with boundaries reveal their own instability. The Stoic observes and decides. Deciding calmly is leadership. Leadership attracts. By the end of this chapter, one truth stands firm. Attraction is not maintained by endurance of disrespect. It is maintained by calm self-respect. A man who can walk away without bitterness proves that he values himself. That value is felt immediately. Not through words, but through silence, clarity, and strength. Emotional control is the quiet force behind lasting attraction. The Stoics believe that a man who cannot govern his emotions will eventually be governed by them. And a man ruled by emotion becomes unpredictable, reactive, and exhausting to be around. Calm discipline, on the other hand, creates stability. Stability creates trust. Trust deepens attraction. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that emotions are temporary impressions, not commands. He believed a man should feel, but never surrender control. This distinction is critical. Suppression creates coldness. Indulgence creates chaos. Stoic discipline creates balance. Balance is attractive. A man who feels deeply but reacts slowly creates emotional safety. Emotional safety allows connection to grow without fear. Fear closes people. Calm opens them. Seneca warned that uncontrolled emotion turns desire into obsession. Obsession distorts judgment. Distorted judgment leads to neediness. Neediness destroys attraction. Stoic desire is different. It is present, but not desperate. It is warm, but not clinging. It invites rather than demands. This is desire without attachment. Epictetus taught that when we attach our happiness to outcomes, we lose freedom. Freedom is the foundation of emotional authority. A man who is free inside does not fear emotional loss. He enjoys connection without gripping it. Enjoyment without fear is rare. Rare things attract attention. Emotional control begins with awareness. A Stoic man notices emotions without being consumed by them. He observes longing, excitement, and disappointment as passing states, not permanent truths. This observation creates distance. Distance allows choice. Marcus Aurelius believed that between stimulus and response lies reason. A man who uses this space chooses dignity over impulse. Dignity strengthens attraction because it shows maturity. Maturity feels safe. A Stoic man does not rush to express every emotion. He chooses what to share and when. This is not dishonesty. It is discernment. Discernment shows wisdom. Seneca wrote that a wise man is guided by reason, not swept by feeling. When a man can remain steady during emotional highs and lows, he becomes grounding. Others feel calm around him. Calm is contagious. Stoic emotional control also prevents overinvestment. Overinvestment creates imbalance. Imbalance breeds anxiety. Anxiety repels. A Stoic man invests gradually. He allows connection to develop at a natural pace. He does not force intensity. He allows intensity to grow through shared experience. Experience builds depth. Depth makes a man memorable. Desire without attachment also sharpens presence. When a man is not distracted by fear of loss, he becomes fully present in the moment. Presence is felt immediately. It cannot be faked. Epictetus taught that when we accept impermanence, we free ourselves from anxiety. A Stoic man knows that all things pass. This knowledge does not make him cold. It makes him appreciative. Appreciation without fear feels authentic. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that nothing external can add to or subtract from his worth. This belief frees a man from emotional bargaining. He does not trade authenticity for affection. Authenticity attracts deeply. Stoic discipline also regulates desire. Desire becomes intentional instead of compulsive. A man chooses who he desires and why. He does not chase what flatters his ego. He seeks alignment with values. Values anchor attraction. Seneca warned that chasing pleasure without reason leads to emptiness. Pleasure fades. Character remains. A man who values character becomes unforgettable. Unforgettable men are not loud. They are steady. Emotional control also protects a man during conflict. Conflict is inevitable. Reaction is optional. A Stoic man remains calm during disagreement. He listens. He responds without anger. Anger destroys respect. Respect sustains attraction. Epictetus taught that insults only harm us if we accept them. A man who remains unshaken by provocation demonstrates inner strength. Inner strength draws admiration. Admiration deepens desire. Stoic men do not punish emotionally. They do not withdraw affection to control. They do not create insecurity. They communicate clearly or disengage calmly. Clarity builds trust. Trust creates intimacy. Desire without attachment also prevents emotional exhaustion. A man who clings drains himself and others. A man who enjoys without attachment remains light. Lightness makes interaction enjoyable. Marcus Aurelius believed that joy should come from living in accordance with nature and reason. A Stoic man enjoys connection without losing himself. He remains whole. Wholeness is magnetic. Stoic discipline also means accepting rejection gracefully. Rejection does not damage self-worth. It provides information. A Stoic man does not argue with reality. Acceptance is power. Seneca wrote that suffering often comes from wanting what we cannot control. When a man releases this struggle, he becomes peaceful. Peace attracts those seeking stability. Stability is rare in emotional relationships. Epictetus taught that desire must be trained like a muscle. Untrained desire grows wild. Trained desire serves reason. Reason protects dignity. Dignity attracts respect. A Stoic man expresses desire honestly, but without expectation. He offers connection, not dependency. This openness feels safe. Safety allows attraction to deepen naturally. By mastering emotional control, a man becomes unforgettable not through drama, but through consistency. Not through intensity, but through presence. Not through possession, but through freedom. Marcus Aurelius believed that a man's greatest strength is his ability to remain himself in all conditions. This constancy leaves a lasting impression. Lasting impressions create memory. Memory fuels attraction. By the end of this chapter, the truth is clear. Discipline does not weaken desire. It refines it. Emotional control does not reduce connection. It deepens it. A Stoic man is remembered because he was calm when others were chaotic, steady when others were reactive, and complete when others were dependent. That completeness lingers. Attraction reaches its highest form when a man becomes complete within himself. Not finished, not perfect, but grounded. The Stoics believed that a man who is whole does not seek to be filled by others. He shares himself freely, without hunger or fear. This inner completeness changes everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's worth is measured by the quality of his soul, not by how others respond to him. When a man understands this, he stops bending himself to be chosen. He becomes the chooser of his own conduct. This shift creates leadership. Stoic leadership is not dominance, it is direction. It is the quiet certainty that comes from knowing who you are and where you stand. A man who leads himself naturally leads emotional space. People feel safe around him. Safety deepens attraction. Epictetus taught that no one is free who is not master of himself. Self-mastery is the foundation of influence. A man who governs his impulses, emotions, and reactions carries authority without force. Authority attracts trust. Trust creates closeness. Stoic leadership also means responsibility. A Stoic man does not blame circumstances or people for his state of mind. He accepts responsibility for his responses. This accountability creates stability. Stability is rare. Rarity attracts attention. Seneca believed that true power lies in independence from praise and fear of loss. A man who is not controlled by these forces moves through relationships with clarity. He does not manipulate. He does not cling. He does not retreat into bitterness. He remains steady. Steadiness becomes a refuge. Stoic completeness allows a man to give without depletion. He offers presence, attention, and care without expecting them to complete him. This generosity feels genuine. Genuine connection lasts. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that nothing external can harm his character unless he allows it. This belief frees a man from emotional bargaining. He does not trade values for affection. Values anchor attraction. A Stoic man leads by example. He does not preach discipline, he lives it. He does not demand respect, he embodies it. Embodiment is powerful. Epictetus taught that we should show philosophy through action, not words. A man who lives calmly under pressure becomes a reference point. Others adjust themselves around his steadiness. This creates influence. Influence deepens attraction. Stoic leadership also includes emotional honesty without dependency. A man can express care, desire, and appreciation while remaining centered. He does not hide behind detachment. He balances openness with self-command. Balance creates harmony. Harmony draws people closer. Seneca warned against mistaking attachment for love. Love without freedom becomes possession. Stoic affection respects autonomy. It allows space. Space sustains desire. A complete man does not fear distance. He understands that connection thrives when it is chosen, not enforced. He allows others to come and go without resentment. This freedom is attractive. Marcus Aurelius believed that nature favors what is in harmony with itself. A man aligned with his nature moves effortlessly. Effortlessness feels confident. Confidence without arrogance is rare. Stoic leadership also accepts endings gracefully. Not all connections are meant to last. A Stoic man does not cling to what has run its course. He honors what was and releases what no longer aligns. Release restores peace. Peace attracts clarity. Epictetus taught that loss only wounds us when we believe we have lost something essential. A complete man knows that his essence remains intact. This knowledge removes fear. Fearlessness deepens presence. Stoic completeness also sharpens discernment. A man no longer chases attention. He chooses connection that aligns with his values. Selectivity increases worth. Worth attracts respect. Respect sustains attraction. Seneca wrote that the wise man is content with himself but enjoys companionship. This balance is the heart of Stoic attraction. Enjoyment without dependence. Desire without desperation. This balance is felt immediately. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how fleeting life is. This awareness brings urgency to live well, not to cling. A Stoic man values quality over quantity in connection. Quality creates depth. Depth leaves a mark. Stoic leadership means remaining calm when tested. Tests reveal character. A man who remains composed during conflict, loss, or uncertainty becomes unforgettable. Unforgettable men are remembered not for intensity, but for steadiness. Epictetus taught that character is revealed when circumstances remove comfort. A Stoic man does not collapse when challenged. He adapts. Adaptability attracts admiration. Admiration fuels attraction. Stoic completeness also ends emotional gains. Gains require insecurity. A complete man has no need for them. He communicates clearly or disengages peacefully. Clarity builds trust. Trust deepens intimacy. Seneca warned that seeking control over others leads to inner chaos. A Stoic man seeks control only over himself. This restraint creates harmony in relationships. Harmony sustains connection. Marcus Aurelius believed that a man should leave a positive trace wherever he goes. A Stoic man does not dominate emotional space, he enriches it. Enrichment is remembered. By the end of this journey, the truth stands clear. Attraction is not created by tactics. It is revealed by character. It is not sustained by effort, but by alignment. A Stoic man becomes attractive when he is no longer trying to be. He stands firm, calm, disciplined, and open. He leads himself first. Others feel the strength of that leadership without being told. That feeling lingers, it grows, it deepens. Not because he chased it, but because he became whole.